Marc Berthoumier of France, a very noted accordionist, and the late Regis Gizavo. I got to know him actually as one of the pioneers of the Madagascar All Stars and a great accordionist. He died, unfortunately, some years ago. And they're teaming up with Les Couleurs d'ici, the colors here. This is a 2012 recording. This is Leid Stories. I'm your Trace Leid, and we are going to get started with a program that I hope you will find interesting. Our tour guide for the first half of our program is familiar to you. It's Kim Ives. He is the editor of the English edition of Haiti Liberté, one of the most popular newspapers serving the Haitian community of the diaspora, as a matter of fact, not just in one place, not just in Brooklyn, not just in Miami, but it's well known all over the world. Kim, I'm glad that you were with us.
Thank you, Utrice. Thank you very much. And Haiti Liberté, of course, primarily goes to Haiti as well.
Yes. Well, I was intrigued by a story that you have been following, and perhaps you could tell us a little bit about that story, which involves some, it looks like mercenaries now involved in Haiti. What's going on?
Yes, well, Haiti, as your listeners may know, has been in state of upheaval, really, for the past 9 months, possibly a year. The government of Jovenel Moïse has been taken to task for basically blocking investigation into what happened to $4.3 billion worth of Venezuelan oil revenues, which the country received over the last decade. And this arrangement, which was called the Petro-Caribe agreement, created what was called the Petro-Caribe Fund, in which 40% of that $4.3 billion of revenue went into a fund which was a capital fund, so Haiti could build schools and hospitals and do social benefit projects. But instead of doing that with the money, the Haitian government, primarily that of Michel Martelly, a neo-Duvalierist compas singer, which many people may have heard of, they squandered the money. They embezzled it. It was given to projects which either didn't exist or were never completed. And so the people have been rising up to demand, where did that money go? What happened to it? And the situation has been exacerbated now by the fact that the Petro-Caribe agreement has effectively been ended thanks to Donald Trump's sanctions against Venezuela. And so the cheap Venezuelan oil and the very generous Venezuelan credit has now ended in Haiti. And a new creditor has stepped in, the International Monetary Fund, and they've said to Haiti, if we're going to give you any money, you got to raise your gas prices. So they tried to do that back in July. The people rose up. They basically shut Haiti down for 3 days on July 6th, 7th, and 8th. And ever since then, basically every month, August, September, October, November, there were giant demonstrations, which ended up each one asking for Jovenel to step down, to resign. The U.S. wasn't really backing him very well, and this was in large part because he had not really signed on to or stood with Washington in their campaign against Nicolas Maduro in Venezuela. But then on January 10th, 2019, there was another OAS vote, and Haiti indeed did vote with Washington, saying Nicolas Maduro was illegitimate. Here's a government who less than 20% of the electorate turned out to vote for Jovenel Moïse, and that election was extremely controversial and questionable. And he's saying that a president who indisputably got 70% of the vote, and there were opposition candidates to him, Nicolas Maduro, was illegitimate. So it was just absurd. In any case, the people came out in force on February 7th, and for 10 days, again, shut down Haiti. So it was on the last day, really, of this uprising that a private plane, a private jet from Baltimore flew in the wee hours of the morning. The flight went from 2 a.m. It left Baltimore and arrived in Port-au-Prince at 5 a.m. in the morning. And on this plane, there were mercenaries, U.S. mercenaries, heavily armed, and they were bringing in assault weapons, pistols, bulletproof jackets, satellite phones. They had a sniper scope. They had drones. They had all this equipment, and they went into the country without going through immigration, without going through customs. They just breezed right in. And the next day, they went to the Banque de la République d'Haïti, which is the central bank, the Bank of the Republic of Haiti. And their mission there was to move $80 million, which remains in an escrow account at the BRH. $80 million, which is basically Venezuela's money, because, as I said, the accord said that Haiti was supposed to pay Venezuela 60% up front. Well, starting in October 2017, the Haitian government couldn't pay Venezuela for the gas it was getting, so it was put in this escrow account, and that's now about $80 million. So what they were trying to do was to take the money out of this escrow account and put it in an account that Jovenel Moïse controlled. We're unclear, and we're researching feverishly now how they went about it and how this was going to happen and why did they need 8 heavily armed mercenaries to do this. In any case, unfortunately for them, because they were so clumsy or maybe so arrogant that they just didn't think they needed to be more careful, they were arrested by the cops on that Sunday, February 17th, and they were hauled off to jail. And immediately the U.S. Embassy weighed in and said, oh, you have to release these guys. And they were going through a real pressure campaign against Jovenel Moïse and his ministers, and they were pressuring the chief of police. Well, finally, the justice minister sent a letter to not even the chief of police, to the head of the police station where they were being held, and said, you're authorized to release these guys. And they came in, and on the following Wednesday, they were taken to a plane and flown to Miami, unhandcuffed. But they got off the plane, and they were freed when they were in the States after some brief questioning, apparently. Now, they should have been charged for illegal weapon export, because if you take a weapon, especially an assault rifle, out of the United States, you're supposed to get a license, a permit for that. They didn't. And, of course, they violated all the Haitian laws coming into the country, importing these weapons without any permit, and going through immigration and customs without checking in with anybody. So an investigative judge is the only person who could have legally released them and said, okay, you can go. But that didn't even happen. They didn't even appear before a judge. So this is just an outrageous incident, and this is just the tip of the iceberg. In fact, they had a second contract, Patrice, which we're investigating. I don't want to give up too much about that, but it involved much graver crimes than even theft. So anyway, we're just starting to dig into this whole sordid affair, and this was our first real revelation about what our investigation uncovered.
Who dispatched this team of mercenaries? I understand all of them were white, but who dispatched them? What were their specific orders? Were they ordered to kill Haitians if they should have encountered some kind of resistance? Under whose authority did these people land in Haiti with the intention of carting off $80 million in cash?
Well, this is what our investigation is looking into right now. We know that the people who received them were the representatives of a company called Preble Riche. That's PREBLE-RISH. Preble Riche. And Preble Riche was, or is, a construction company in Haiti. And the two representatives of it is a guy called Josue Leconte, who lives here in Brooklyn, not too far from BAM, from Brooklyn Academy of Music. I staked out his house for a day. He ended up running into my colleague on the article at The Intercept, who we did the article in conjunction with them. My colleague, Matthew Cole, saw him come out of his building, and he ducked into a parking garage. Matthew sort of waited for him to come out of there and asked him, "Can I talk to you, sir?" And the guy ran away. So here was this guy hiding and running away. So they're very adverse to talking about what it is. Silence is their only defense. So there's Josue Leconte, who's one. He's basically an American with a Haitian passport. He's very Americanized, but very close to Jovenel Moïse, the president, and to Michel Martelly, Jovenel's mentor. And then the other big figure who was part of the team that met them at the airport was a guy called Gesner Champagne, which is basically like champagne in French. So Gesner Champagne is married to Claudia Saint-Remy, who is the sister of Michel Martelly's wife. So he's basically some kind of, I don't think it's exactly brother-in-law, but he's related by marriage to Michel Martelly, and part of the same clique, part of the same corrupt, what I call a clown mafia. So Gesner Champagne and Josue Leconte were joined in addition by a guy called Fritz Jean-Louis. And who is Fritz Jean-Louis? Well, he used to be the director of the National Lottery under Michel Martelly. He's had various posts in the Martelly government and is now working on some level for the Jovenel Moïse government. But it's interesting to note that he was so corrupt and just had such sticky fingers that even the Martelly people had a little problem with him and kind of had put him at arm's length. But he found some sort of resurrection. He's good friends with the most reactionary Macoute sector of the Martelly group, a guy called Thierry Meyer-Paul, and they helped resurrect him in the campaign of Jovenel Moïse in 2015 and 16. And so now he's had a couple of lower posts. But this appears to be his present mission, is to help get this $80 million. Now, we're not sure exactly why he was chosen or how he is going to be able to help them get this money. Some of these details is what we're really digging into and trying to get answers to now. But he is also part of this trio that met the mercenaries at the airport at 5 a.m. on February 16th and whisked them through the airport without going through immigration or customs. Now,
Are these mercenaries coming out of one source, one company hired them, or how is this working? How were they recruited?
Okay.
Who recruited them?
Well, the principal guy is a guy out of San Francisco called Kent Croker. And Kent Croker has had some experience working in Haiti. In fact, he speaks a little Creole, apparently. He speaks a little French. He actually was in Haiti after the 2004 coup against Aristide, and in 2008. So they have a kind of security company out there. He and his father. His father worked for the United Nations, also in Haiti. So he's apparently the guy leading this. The others were sort of an odd lot. You know, these weren't top drawer special forces. They were definitely what I would call special force rejects or wannabes. They often were sort of semi-employed, involved in odd jobs, security. Some of them clearly are not very sharp knives, although they carried sharp knives. They came from different parts of the country. So, no, it's not one outfit. It seems to be sort of a team assembled by Croker, but I'm not sure what his criteria was. Again, none of these guys are speaking. There's only one who's been sort of putting up Instagram posts and then taking them down, a fellow called Christopher Osman, who was a former Navy SEAL. But he came out after our expose came out in The Intercept and Haiti Liberté, and he spoke to the AP and to the Miami Herald, and he gave them another account, which was a little incoherent, but actually we got some good information from his account and some good leads. And it's not, I could say, really contradictory to our account. It converges in many ways, but whether he's just a moron or whether he's trying to give disinformation, we're not sure. But he hasn't spoken to us, even though we've been trying to get to him. So these are the parameters we're dealing with. It's very nebulous, and I'm sure their lawyers are all telling them, don't talk to the press, whatever you do, and maybe they shut down Osman so he wouldn't go talking, blabbing anymore, because, any lawyer is always completely allergic to the press investigations.
I'm still trying to wrap my brain around this. You have a group of U.S. nationals, many of them with military backgrounds, if not all of them, with some kind of military background, provided a plane to go to Haiti and basically steal $80 million. Presumably, that money was going to come back to the United States. Where was it to go?
Well, no. Okay. What people need to understand is that this was not, in fact, the Petro-Caribe Fund. This is not the money which went into this sort of savings account, which Haiti had for 25 years, repayable at 1% interest. That's Haiti's money. This money is Venezuela's money. And this is where the listeners and you can start to do a little extrapolation, because this is Venezuela's money, which they're trying to take. So we're questioning now, what we're wondering is how much this whole scheme involves Venezuela and the U.S. To what extent were they trying to stiff Venezuela for $80 million to give it to Jovenel Moïse to prop him up in the face of this massive uprising and basically the Haitian government is bankrupt. The World Bank is saying, where are we going to find money? And in fact, they had an August 2018 report which said, we got two choices. We can either print more money, but we're not really allowed to because the ceiling is 20% of the previous year. So the BRH, the central bank, can't really print more money unless they passed a law to raise the ceiling. They said the other option is we raid the Petro escrow account. So, to what extent is this involved? Now, I don't think the Maduro government is very interested in seeing the Haitians who now have stuck a knife in their back, or not the Haitians, I should say, Jovenel Moise, who has stuck a knife in Venezuela's back after getting $4.3 billion. I don't think the Maduro government is going to be very likely to say, yeah, you can have the $80 million, so what? No, they may be trying to make a deal with the Guaido people. And so this is really what we're trying to chase down. To what extent has there been some connivance? The bank governor was in Washington the week before this all went down. He was in touch with these two characters from Prebble Riche, Jesner Champagne and Josue Lecomte. So we think the bank governor's in it. We think that there's a lot. So anyway, we're trying to put the pieces to the puzzle together, and in the face of a campaign of silence on the part of the actors. But we think people are outraged and disgusted enough by this stunt that some people will come forward. We hope.
I was going to say that this is a major crime. They were left one country and crossed the ocean, went to another country for the specific purpose of committing this crime. And on our side of the ocean, we're not hearing a peep about who organized this. What are the security people of the United States doing, and the law enforcement community doing about this? How do they regard this crime? What do they intend to do?
Yeah, well, we have to remember that it was a little more than a year and 3 months ago, that Trump called Haiti S-hole. I presume I can't say the word on your airwaves, Utrice, an S-hole country. And so I think, they're treating Haiti as a non-entity, and they're too happy to use the country, trample its laws, trample its sovereignty. And this is just on top of the intrigue and essentially international larceny that they're trying to carry out.
I know you're just sparing us a bit of time so that the story doesn't get too stale. We wanted us to know some details about it, and we'll get to know more as you work on it. But I want to thank you for following the story. This is a major development, and it now raises a whole bunch of questions about why are these guys coming to Haiti well armed, prepared to kill people, and with a plan to take out of the country $80 million. And we don't know yet all of the details, but we're certainly glad that you pinpointed the story and are following it very, very assiduously, as you usually do. And we will follow up again with you, but I don't want to impinge on your time. I know you're up to your neck trying to chase things down. So thank you so much for making even this time available so that you could plant the seed in our head that there's something really foul happening here. Thank you so much, Kim, for being with us today.
Thank you very much, Utrice, for keeping up with the Haiti side of things very much. Thank you.
Thank you. We'll take this break, come back right after this. Listening to Lead Stories on PRN.FM. You're listening to Lead Stories on PRN.FM. I'm Utrice Leid. That was a very awful story, but you see how these things work. And people in developing countries are used to this kind of stuff happening in their countries all the time. Why would there be 7 people, including Navy SEALs, armed to the teeth, taking off from the U.S. in a private jet? They have a date with destiny in Haiti because the assignment is to go get $80 million. Well, who has made that assignment? Why? What was the money to be used for? And so they use the stresses and the chaos of countries that itself, I should say, is created from outside forces while people are just trying to get their footing. All of this is going on. And they didn't go down there in nicely tailored business suits and on a mission to help. No, they went down there on a mission to walk out of the country or to fly out of the country with $80 million cash. So who in the United States was coordinating that? And how come it isn't causing much of not even a blip on the screen in the United States? You see what I mean? They talk about other countries like dogs. But look what they do. This is what they do. There's a whole network of people involved in making a living this way. I wanted to talk about the escalation of tensions in Venezuela as we have the President of the United States basically giving an ultimatum that Russia must get its troops out now. As you know, Russian troops are in Venezuela as part of a commitment Russia and China had made to protect Venezuela, which is under direct assault, both from the inside and, of course, encouraged by the United States. The duly elected president of Venezuela, Nicolás Maduro, has been having a difficult time trying to hold on because there is an upstart from the opposition backed by the United States and allies of the United States who installed himself. He swore himself in as the rightful president of Venezuela. And this caused a major friction, and the country is divided. It's chaotic. But still it has held on because of promises of help from Russia and from other allies. But Russia recently upped the ante itself under the stress that the Maduro regime was experiencing with direct threats from the United States to displace him and to take over the country and install officially uh, Juan Guaido, an opposition leader, the guy who I said installed himself. In response to that action, Russia has moved in some military planes and military personnel. And they have, according to reports, Russia is now beginning to formalize its logistical help on the ground in Venezuela. Donald Trump issued a demand saying, get your troops out now. Of course, or else. We don't know or else what, but we can pretty much surmise what the threat is all about. And this is right in our backyard, and we try to figure out what is coming down the pike. Who is in the right here? Who is the aggressor here? And in the end, when you figure that, however you look at it, it would involve massive slaughter and deaths. In a sense, the argument is moot because you're talking about a devastating outcome either way that looms over Venezuela. I also want to mention that the president thought that he had accomplished something. He was so smart. He was so clever when he decided that if Congress was not going to give him the money, all of the money that he was asking for to build this wall, under the guise that there is a pressing and urgent need for it, there is in fact an emergency for this wall, Congress turned him down. You may recall that. Well, here's what he decided to do. He decided to go do an end run, and under the agencies, and with the agencies, I should say, under his direct control in a way, we talk about the Pentagon and other federal agencies, he will squeeze money out of them to total the amount that he initially had asked for. Here is what emerged yesterday. It's not clever. You know, you're not clever. Not clever at all. The Pentagon yielded to Trump and decided it will fork over $1 billion out of its budget. And because the president can, under certain provisions, direct or redirect money from federal agencies that have to do especially with things like security and, you know, that kind of thing, he could put his hand in the till, and he did. Now, yesterday, it became known that the Pentagon, which allocated $1 billion of its dollars to the president in order to evade the ruling of Congress that he's not getting any more money. The Pentagon is now asking for $2.5 billion more in additional funding to cover the cost of what it vaguely describes as underfunded priorities, unquote. And everybody's pretending they don't know what has happened here or what is happening here. Trump put his hand in the Pentagon's budget. The Pentagon willingly capitulated. and forked over $1 billion. And now, without actually acknowledging the big lie here, they're all lying. And they're using taxpayers' dollars like, they got a piggy bank. This is Trump's uh, classic Trump. I could steal money right from under your eyes. So now the Pentagon is asking not to increase its budget by the $1 billion it forked over, but by $2.5 billion that it is describing as a money it needs for underfunded priorities. You know, supposedly they think we don't have brains. We're so stupid. We can't figure out what is going on. But this is a duplicitous president, a lying and deceitful president, deciding he knows how to get what he wants. So Congress is not going to give him the money straightforwardly out of a budget. He will squeeze it out of the Pentagon and then have the Pentagon now ask for additional funding for underfunded priorities. What do you think about this? Do we need a government like this? Do we need a government that is provoking a war in our backyard? Do we need a government that is funding or encouraging this kind of craziness in the Caribbean? Installing somebody who is as angry and as mad as Donald Trump as to say, I am not interested in what the people think. I have to get my own way. I'll figure it out. And now mercenaries are involved. White mercenaries are going to Haiti, heavily armed in their private jet. You can't write this stuff. I'll take some of your calls. We have some time at 888-874-4888. What are you hearing? What are you hearing this country doing? Is this a top story in the newspapers and on television about what this administration is actively doing? And it doesn't care what the fallout would be for the American people? You can get your way however you want to. You can get your way. And the American people will have to foot the bill. They will have to foot the bill. And you can make that happen. And that is the essence of your power. That is the essence of your power. You can make happen whatever you wish to happen, whether it is legal or lawful or not. And people are just trying to get through the day. They're trying to take care of their families. They're trying actually to obey the law. They're trying to do what's right. And this is the government, a renegade government doing whatever it chooses to do. The devil be damned. They'll do whatever they have to do to suit their purposes. And then you stand up in front of the microphones of the nation and you're telling people all these serious things that you're doing, but you're behaving like a criminal. This is the behavior of criminals. I ask you, what does this do to your thinking process when you hear these kinds of stories? A little country just trying to make it. And there is no end of the parasitic interest that this country has in Haiti. There's no end to the 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 things they can construct to steal its wealth, to steal its money, to subject the people to even greater suffering, and doing it all under the so-called color of law. And we're supposed, as citizens of the United States, to trust that they're doing the right thing, that they're obeying the Constitution. This president thinks that the Treasury is his personal piggy bank. We can do whatever we want to do. Who's going to stop us? Nobody could stop us. And we will help the people who are doing things in our interest, even if they're illegal, very illegal. This president stood up before the world and said, basically, I don't like the duly elected president. I want the person I want to be president of Venezuela. And then people are now encouraged to attack him. Not because is he not breaking the law? Is he not encouraging a coup? Is he not trying to sack the nation of its meager resources, financial resources, its budgetary concerns and whatnot? Is he not trampling over all aspects of life in Venezuela and acting as if he cannot and will not be stopped? And then when there's any kind of resistance to what he's doing, people are encouraged to look at it as if Venezuela is the problem. Venezuela is causing the problem. If only they would do exactly as Donald Trump dictates, then everything will be fine. But he is standing up before the world and making it absolutely clear. He doesn't yet have to make it any clearer what his intentions are. This is how wars start. You have irresponsible, and in Donald Trump's case, unstable leadership being given free rein to do whatever it wants to do. So we have a couple of minutes. Let's finish off the program with your thoughts. 888-874-4888. We just highlighted a story that should cause everybody to say, what is this? What's going on here? And to basically sound the clarion call for citizen action. But, life just goes on. It's no big deal. It's only Haiti. And who cares what happens to Haiti? What a thing. We have possibly the U.S. government basically turning its face against what is so evident, that there was an attempt by some group of people. They had to have had official sanction from the U.S. government to attempt to go into Haiti to remove $80 million. What a story. What brazenness. Okay. Well, we will move on. I don't see any calls yet on the screen. So this gives you, we're just discussing it here as it unfolds. It's beginning to unfold. But listen to the drama of the story. Listen to the outrageousness of the actions of Americans in somebody else's country. And they always do that in a black country. No rules apply. You could do anything you want and get away with it. But you would have a decidedly different opinion if other people attempted, because they certainly would not be allowed to do it, if they even attempted to do it. The response would be very different. But look how casually this is being done. Nobody's bothering you. Nobody's stealing your money. But you could organize from the shores of the United States, you could organize a heist. You could organize an operation to take money that doesn't belong to you. And then people would want to say, well, you know, when you start talking about white supremacy, you're imagining things. Well, what is it? What else is it? We are very lucky that the world, in large measure, hasn't treated the citizens of the United States the way the citizens of the United States treat other citizens around the world. Lincoln from Mount Vernon, you're on the air.
Hi, you, Therese.
Hello.
Yes, little time left. So, this is not new. It is the attitude, the posture that America have displayed to the world. And look at what Hillary Clinton did to, what's his name, of Zelaya of Honduras. When they supported the coup, they made it possible for people to think that, okay, it was okay to go out and kill Berta Cassia. And it was okay for us to kill any other environmentalist. So what Trump is doing is similar to what the Obama administration did. It's similar to what George Bush did. Even when the world community was against him invading Iraq, and without the support of Congress, he just said, no, we're just going into Iraq. And we, the people, allowed it to happen. And it's just like business as usual. It comes and it goes. And we're in America, you're always hearing people, including the citizens, saying, oh, this is the greatest country ever. And I see this country like I see the family of the mafia. They live good, but they live good at the expense of others. These godfathers of the mafia, they order hits and people die. And so then they're able to live in Long Island and Scarsdale, etc. And likewise in America, we are able to have a certain standard of living because of the atrocities America have been committing. And yes, every once in a while, they do some token gesture. And when they do some token gesture, we say, oh, the greatest country. And, you know, look what they did for here and there. But for everything they do, look what they extract. Every little token gesture America does. Look what they extract. And I think we should connect the dots and also draw the parallels. What Trump is doing is, you know, one thing that Trump did that really, really stands out. And people should remember this. You remember when in Europe when he pushed that other leader out of the way?
Yeah, to get to the front row to take a photograph.
Yes, when he did that, I was glad to see that. You know why, you, Therese? And hear me out. That's what America have been doing to little countries, that Trump didn't have the sense to say, oh, let me be cool about this. What Trump did when he pushed that leader out of the way is what America is trying to do to North Korea. It's what America did to Libya. It's what America did to Iran, to Mossadegh in 1953, is what they did to Allende, is what they did to Guatemala. So what Trump did, see, one of our problems is when a racist or a wicked person is outright with their wickedness, we are appalled. But when they are discreet and what we call, oh, they're so politically, they're so, what's the word I'm looking for? It's eluding me. Anyway, once they do it nicely, oh, it's fine. Oh, Obama smiled. And while he's smiling, he's dropping drones and killing little children. Oh, Bill Clinton is charming, while he and Madeleine Albright killed over 500,000 children in Iraq. So why are we appalled by Trump? Because we are a bunch of hypocrites. We are a bunch of hypocrites, brainwashed hypocrites, and we want them to do their wickedness nicely rather than be brutal and outright with it. So let's stop just blaming Trump and say all of them are wicked. And if we admit that and that we are participating in the wickedness, hello?
Yes, I'm listening.
And if we are and that we are participants in it, every time this country kills someone, we let it slide. We speak about what Israel, what Netanyahu, the disrespect Netanyahu accorded Obama. Obama bothered in himself. Do you remember when they asked Obama about the 2,000 people that was killed by Israel just after Obama had won the election? Obama's response was this: one president at a time. He was afraid to speak up about that wickedness while he was busy giving his opinion on other topics. And then it came back to bite him when Netanyahu disrespected him and came to the U.S. even without being invited. But we the people, we have amnesia. We're so quick to forget. And that's one of our problems.
What would you suggest would be an appropriate response on the part of the people to the things that we're discussed this morning? I mean, this afternoon.
Like what we're doing right now, you trees. We should voice our opposition to this. We should voice it individually and collectively. So you and I, we should try to get people together to come together, to coalesce as one, and voice our outrage at the government and every act of wickedness it carries out. That's what we should do. Because we don't have guns to fight them. So we have to fight them by voicing our outrage. So let it be uncomfortable for them. But when we go along, it's easy for them to do it because they say, oh, we know they'll forget about it. Oh, we killed 1,000 people today. Oh, they'll forget. Look how many times Israel killed 2,000, 1,000. And after a few days, no one thinks about it. Look at the Congo, where over 7 million people are dead. Over 7 million. We talk about the Palestinians. What has been going on in the Congo far surpasses that. 7 million black people killed like flies. And no outrage. No outrage. What happened in New Zealand recently is nothing compared to what's going on in the Congo. 7 million human beings, black human beings. Where is the outrage? We are so selective with what we choose to speak about.
I cannot argue against your point, but we still have to discuss it. We still have to put it, up on the wall. We still have to make people aware of it and make people aware that we are aware of it and that we denounce it and that we do not intend to participate in a repeat in any way of this kind of action. So it starts with bringing it to light. I think you're right in that regard. So we have come to the end of the program today. Tomorrow is Free Your Mind Friday, and we'll talk some more and exchange opinions and ideas. Thanks so much for listening today. Bye-bye.